Shalom. I am Rabbi Nathan Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of the webyeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. This is an exciting time. As you all know, we're preparing for Pesach. Passover starts a little bit more than a week from now. A week from now, Thursday night, we'll be doing Bedikas Chametz, searching for the Chametz. So I'm going to talk about the combination of three things. First of all, I'm going to talk about Bedikas Chametz, the search for the Chametz. Then I'm going to talk about a little bit about our Parsha of this week, which is Parsha Metzora. And then I'm going to talk about one of the aspects of the Seder, the Passover Seder, about the wicked son. And we're going to try to combine all these together and see what lesson we learn as to how we can improve and take out the good in ourselves and express the good in ourselves and the good in everybody else. As I've said many times, when we learn Torah, we learn things that are in the Torah. We're not just learning stories. The Torah is not a storybook. Everything in the Torah comes to teach us something. Every one of our customs, outside of the basic physical doing of the custom, that has a deeper meaning that gives us lessons for how to live our life. So here, let's talk about, first of all, what do we do for searching for Chametz? Searching for Chametz, it's a custom to put out 10 different crumbs, 10 pieces of bread that are not such that they will leave crumbs all over, and you go searching for them. And it's a symbolic thing, but it's an important thing to search for the Chametz to make sure your house is free of any leaven or leavening product. And then you gather them all. But this process, the whole concept of Chametz, which is something you're not allowed to eat on Pesach, you're not allowed to eat any leavened material, any leavened bread, any leavening, anything with yeast that will rise. It's a very stringent law, but there's something we can learn from it. Chametz, on a deeper level, is referred to as the Ra, the evil, the bad within us. So when we're doing Bedikas Chametz, we're looking for the Chametz, we really have to do a self-introspection to look at ourselves and see where we can correct ourselves and how to get rid of the Ra, the bad within us. The Parsha Metzora talks about a person who says Lashon Hora, who talks about somebody else. The penalty for it in the days of the Torah was very extreme. The person who engaged in Lashon Hora would come down with a skin disease, which is erroneously translated as leprosy. It wasn't that, but it was a bad skin disease, which was a spiritual disease, not a physical one. I say spiritual because even though it manifested itself physically, the determination of whether or not you had this disease was not done by a doctor, was done by the Kohen, by the priest. The person was visited by the Kohen who would look at it and determine if in fact it is or is not tsuras, it is or is not leprosy, bad translation, is not the skin disease caused, caused by Lashon Hora. But the word Metzora, you can take from that word, make two words out of it. Motzei Ra. What is Lashon Hora? Is when you're taking out the Ra, you're taking out something bad and putting it on somebody else. So Motzei Ra, you're saying something bad about somebody else. That's Metzora. Now, what does that have to do with the Seder? Well, let's talk about the Seder for a minute. In the Seder, we have the story of the 4 sons. And we have one of those sons is the wicked son. And what does the Haggadah say? He says, With the wicked son, it says Hakeyesh Shinav. You should knock out his, literally translated as knock out his teeth. Well, that's kind of a crazy thing. This wicked son is still sitting at the Seder. He's not, he's obviously got some interest in what's going on, interest in being a part of the family and a part of the Jewish people. So why this strange thing, Hakeyesh Shinav? So Reb Shlomo Carlebach has a beautiful Torah that he brings, the name of the Belzer Rebbe. And he says, you look at the word Rasha. The word Rasha is comprised of three Hebrew letters: Resh at the beginning, Shin in the middle, and Ayin at the end. Now he says, if you take out, where it says that Hakeyesh Shinav, it says to knock out the Shin. What is a Shin? Shin is 3 points. It's a base with 3 points. And the Shin represents our three fathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. He says, what the Torah, what the Belzer Rebbe is saying is take this person and knock out the Shin, separate the Shin from the Ra. Let the Resh and the Ayin off to the side. Look within this person. Know that within this person, though he may appear at first to be a Rasha, when you get to the inner person, you can see the inner good, that he is really connected. He's connected because the Shin shows his connection to the Jewish people, shows the good within him. And the whole message of that little story, as well as the concept of Bedikas Chametz, looking for the evil within ourselves, is that we have to, first of all, do a self-introspection, look at ourselves to see how we can correct ourselves, and look for the good in ourselves. Don't despair and don't think, I've gone off the deep end too far. I can't possibly relate to God. God's not gonna answer me. Well, we know that that's not true, because when God said, excuse me, when God said to Bnei Yisrael, children of Israel, you are my chosen people, where was it said? It was said in Mitzrayim, in Egypt, when we, as a Jewish people, had sunk to the lowest level. And it was there that God said, you're my children. And the Rabbi says in the Gemara, Ben kach uben kach nikraim banim. No matter what we do, we're still children of God, and God will never forsake us. So just as we ourselves have to look for the good in ourselves and not be too harsh on ourselves, not think that we can't come closer to God, we have to, more than that, look for the good in everybody else. Realize that when we're looking at people, don't look at the exterior. Don't judge a person by what they look on the outside. Try to look, as Shlomo would say, Shlomo Carlebach would say, look at people with Mashiach eyes. Look for the good in people. Because just like the Rasha at the Seder, where you can take the Resh and the Ayin, the Ra, the bad, knock them off and leave exposed only the Shin, we can do that with every person. With every Jew, we can look at it and say, this is a holy person. This is a holy neshama from God. Deep down inside, this person is connected to our forefathers. Deep down inside, this person wants to be a part of the Jewish people. Don't exclude him. Don't exclude him in your thoughts or your actions, but in fact, work to bring out the goodness of him and bring out the goodness of every one of us. That is how we should approach the search for Chametz. That is how we should approach going into the Seder. This is the night of our freedom. The true freedom is to realize our true potential and the potential of every one of us. I give us all a blessing. That way we should use our eyes properly to see the good around us. And I bless everybody with a wonderful, happy Pesach and a wonderful Shabbat. Next week we'll be doing Bedikas Chametz, so I don't think I'll have the shir next week. Thank you for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. Shabbat Shalom.